Oi, oi. Yeah, but so to all those noisy people up in the good seats, welcome, Michael. Welcome. Lovely to see you down here today. You're down for a Hawthorn win, were you? Oh, well, there you go. Well, we should see you regularly this year then, I think, because I think you've got a few wins ahead of you. And I'd also like to say welcome to Cherie, who John's brought along. Lovely to have you here this morning. And to Anna, and I believe Olivia.
Yes.
Who's?
She's not here yet.
She's
She's
only a little late, okay. Anna and Olivia, who are Maria's sisters. So lovely to have you guys along this morning. And in a minute we're going to begin our service today with our acknowledgement of country. But before we do that, we'll just have a second acknowledgement as well today, and that is we'll have an acknowledgement of new grandfathers. So Trav. So when, who, where, name, weight, all those things.
Waters broke. AM Friday. Birth happened 10 o'clock. I received the picture of the glowing trio from home at 3 AM. That's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. And
Little boy?
Not
named yet.
Not named yet. Are we thinking Trevor will make its way somewhere into the... Yeah, hope so. Okay, so let's start today. Let's start our service today with the acknowledgement of country, which is our tradition here. And so today, as we start, I'd like to acknowledge the Aboriginal owners of the land on which we are meeting, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. And we'd like to pay our respects to their elders past and present. Today we acknowledge the pain and suffering that the Indigenous people of this country have endured over many generations, and commit ourselves to find pathways of respect, healing, justice and friendship to them. So today, welcome. Welcome to everyone, both here and online, for those who are online. It's great to have everyone here meeting with us. And I think this is Olivia. Olivia, welcome to you too. So in a minute I'm going to introduce today's theme to you. And today's theme is Let Your Demons Come. But before I do that, I need to explain some things. Although, in actual fact, when I pulled the order of service up this week and I saw the theme was Let Your Demons Come, and that the spirituality group had put me down to lead, I thought to myself, is there a subtle message here? And then I thought, no, I'm just being paranoid.
Not subtle.
Yeah, I'm just being paranoid. But then I noticed they'd put Cole and Paul on as well. So now I'm really worried. So up to you to decide. But today what we're going to do is a little bit different. As we all know, next week is formally the end of Brian's time in ministry with us at Hartwell. And on that Sunday, he may or may not have the strength, feel like that he has the strength to join us. My hope is that next Sunday he makes the decision that's best for him, not the decision that's best for us. But when Rosemary did the roster some time ago, today was scheduled to be the last time that Brian would provide us with a sermon or a reflection. Now, just before all of you sigh with disappointment and think, oh no, we were supposed to get Brian and we've ended up with Danny, and that's a fair step down. And that is true, that is a fair step down. I do have some good news for you. Brian actually wrote the reflection for today prior to Christmas. So he wrote it 3 months ago. How's that for organised? And he's been gracious enough to give me his words that he was going to speak about today. And so I've asked Paul and Cole to work with me to bring Brian's thoughts to you. So while Brian is not with us in his person today, he is with us through his wisdom and his insight. So let's get started. So here's what we're going to do. when we're reading Brian's words, we're going to wear the stole. This was my most Brian-esque scarf. Paul and Col have got their own scarves, which I think really undersell the Brian position. I think this is for me. So when we've got the scarf on, these are Brian's words. If we're gonna stray from them, we'll take the scarf off in deference to Brian. Let your demons come. Most of us were taught to do certain things with our demons. We were taught to fight them, to rebuke them, to cast them out, to crush them with willpower, to pray them away, to outgrow them, to be better than them. We also often spiritualise suppression, holding stuff in, or we baptise avoidance. We confuse denial with holiness. And when that doesn't work, because it almost never does, we learn to hide. We hide the addiction, we hide the anger, the jealousy, we hide the intrusive thoughts, the unresolved grief, the parts of us that don't fit with the spiritual brand. And then we wonder why our inner lives often feel crowded out and our daily lives are so exhausting. So as the title suggests, perhaps we should rather let our demons come. Not come to rule us or excuse us or take us over, but rather to be met. Because what we refuse to face does not disappear. It simply goes underground and drives the bus from there. As they say, what you resist persists. We're just going to spend a minute now and have a little opening period of meditation. While we do that, Trev's going to come up and light the Christ candle. We're going to play a little bit of Gabriel Zobo from the Mission, and maybe just reflect on those thoughts that Brian opened with as he started to talk to us about let our demons come. And then after it, Paul's going to come up and Paul's going to speak to us and start bringing Brian's thoughts about, so what do we mean by demons today anyway? So let's just spend a moment in quiet reflection.
did give me a much better start. I just thought I'd assume the Brian position. Thanks, Mike. All right, here we go. So I'm going to be speaking to, reading some of Brian's words today, as Danny's asked me to, and as any good biblical scholar will tell you, what we tend to do in the Christian tradition is we read a manuscript and then we put little marginal notes down the side, and eventually over centuries those marginal notes can often become part of the original text. So forgive me, I'll let you know when I'm adding my bits, and they're sort of my reflection on Brian's words. And the question that Danny said, and what Brian's putting to us, is what do we mean by demons today? So they're not sort of a Hieronymus Bosch demons with pitchforks, are they? In the language, and these are Brian's words, in the language of the inner life, demons are more like unmetabolised trauma, addictive patterns, compulsions, shame cycles, rage that never found safety. Interesting phrase, isn't it? Rage that never found safety. Grief that had to be postponed, or fear that learned to wear armour. And strategies that once protected you but now run your life. These are the ideas that Brian's put to us. What are our inner demons, or our demons? Brian suggests that demons are not signs that we're evil, but rather that we are adapted. Every demon was once a survival strategy that might actually have served us. This is my little marginal note here. Sometimes our demons can be described as our shadow, or our unconscious, or the parts that are hidden in our inner lives. Those parts of ourselves that are operating unconsciously and to some extent have their own power to control our lives. Carl Jung often talks about the shadow in our inner lives and our unconscious as well. Our hidden, our unconscious parts of our lives. It's Brian, going back to Brian's words, addiction didn't start because we were weak, but because we hurt too much. Anger didn't arise because we were broken, but because a boundary was violated. Perfectionism didn't grow because we were arrogant, but because love felt conditional. And control didn't develop because we were cruel, but because, and these are my words here, chaos and uncertainty was unbearable. So, what Brian's put to us today in his words was that our demons are not foreign invaders. They are exiles from our own story. Pretty confronting. They are exiles from our own story. For a long time, Christianity approached demons with one primary posture: expulsion. Get rid of it, judge it, drive it out, and separate the bad from the good. We form a judgment about those inner demons. And while that made sense with ancient worldviews, we now know something essential from psychology, from trauma science and lived recovery experience. And it's these things. What is cast out without being integrated will return with more force. It's an interesting thought, isn't it? What is cast out without being integrated will return with more force. What we disown becomes louder. What we shame becomes stronger. what we exile becomes tyrannical. And when people are taught to hate their demons instead of understanding, or I'm actually going to put in the word befriending, and actually embracing and befriending, so when we are taught to hate our demons instead of understanding or befriending them, we are taught to hate parts of ourselves. So it's no surprise, and it's very Christian. And later there'll be a reading from Mark's Gospel. When Jesus comes out of the wilderness, his primary message is forgiveness. And it's about forgiving others and forgiving ourselves. So again, going to this thought, when people are taught to hate their demons instead of understanding or befriending them, they are taught to hate parts of themselves. And this is why, that's my marginal note here, this is why I believe forgiveness is the message that comes out of the experience of the wilderness in the gospel. The tragedy is that rejection does not heal wounds, it deepens them. Our fears, failures and brokenness are not enemies to be crushed, but signals pointing to deeper needs, pain or longing. So healing begins not with hatred, but with honest attention and compassion. So again, these are my words, I'll take the scarf off for a moment. It begins when we can befriend our demons, when we can learn to forgive others and even begin to forgive ourselves. There's those of you who may have seen the film Conclave. I saw it a couple of years ago, sort of had an early release of it. I was profoundly moved by the movie. It explores some extraordinary themes around doubt and certainty, and in particular we can talk about, Danny and I had a quick sort of exchange in text messages this week about this. Is it the demon of doubt? Is it the demon of certainty? Or is it the demon behind our anxiety about doubt or our desire or need for certainty? What's the demon behind that drives us often? And one demon that perhaps we find difficult to acknowledge is that demon within that has a desire for certainty, that desires simple answers to the complexity of our world and what it's presenting us with, and the complexity of our own inner lives. And we see that the peddlers of certainty in our world today usually want something for themselves, whether it's power, division, or even to salve their own inner anxiety. So, what I'm saying here is certainty is most often seen as strength and the platform for success. And those are Brian's words. I'll repeat them. Certainty is most often seen as strength and the platform for success. What we're proposing today is quite the opposite. What I'm proposing in my reflection on Brian's words is that doubt or open-mindedness is often cast as weakness and the refuge of the unfaithful, when in fact I believe it opens us up to a deeper and more enriching truth, which is the life of faith. We are going to have a scene from the film Conclave showing in a moment, and it's where Ralph Fiennes, as the character of the Dean, is exploring the notion of certainty and doubt with all of the gathered archbishops in Rome.
Let me speak from the heart for a moment. St. Paul said, "Be subject to one another out of reverence for Christ." To work together, to grow together, we must be tolerant. No one person or faction seeking to dominate another. And speaking to the Ephesians, who were of course a mixture of Jews and Gentiles, Paul reminds us that God's gift to the church is its variety. It is this variety, this diversity of people and views which gives our church its strength. And over the course of many years in the service of our Mother the Church, let me tell you, there is one sin which I have come to fear above all others. Certainty. great enemy of unity. Certainty is the deadly enemy of tolerance. Even Christ was not certain at the end. Dio mio, perché me hai abbandonato, he cried out in his agony at the 9th hour on the cross. Our faith is a living thing precisely because it walks hand in hand with doubt. If there was only certainty and no doubt, there would be no mystery, and therefore no need for faith. Let us pray that God will grant us a Pope who doubts, and let him grant us a Pope who sins and asks for forgiveness, and who carries on.
So our reading this morning is Mark 1, verse 12, and that's it, what you see on the screen. So it's one of our shorter ones.
Thanks for coming, Cole.
Yeah. I thought I might have got a slightly bigger role than this. But, so from Mark 1:12, at once the Spirit sent him out into the wilderness. And I'm just going to move back here and channel our friend Brian as well. And so I'm the third demon this morning. It does? Thanks, Bob. Or the third amigo. Thanks, yeah, it was a bit smelly. Yep. So, with a focus on demons, I'm really surprised Peter's not here this morning, but I thought we really should all be wearing Melbourne scarves, but this is the closest I had to a Melbourne scarf, and I might not get to wear it many times this year, so, so I'm making the most of it. But, so I'm going to continue with sharing some of Brian's words with a couple of other personal reflections thrown in. Jesus, the wilderness, and another way. Lent, which we're currently still in, and next Sunday will be Palm Sunday. Lent is not a victory parade, but rather more like a confrontation. Jesus does not start his ministry with miracles. Rather, he starts it by walking straight into the wilderness. Into silence, into hunger, into vulnerability, into temptation, and into shadow. Jesus does not run from the adversary, pretend it isn't there. Jesus does not spiritually bypass the struggle. Rather, he stays, listens, responds, refusing the terms but not the encounter. The wilderness is not where evil wins. Rather, it's where unconscious power is made conscious. It's not necessarily heroic, but it is a story about integration. And I really like that word integration. And I remember a couple of years ago going away on a leadership team retreat and just sort of feeling really sort of on top of my game. And we had this session where we were just sort of talking about how we were feeling, and I was just saying, oh, I'm just feeling really integrated at the moment. And the other people that were there said, oh, that's really good, Cole. You know, that's, and encouraged me. And anyway, about a week later, I'd applied for another job, and I started feeling quite stressed about the upcoming interview. and all of a sudden I didn't feel very integrated anymore. It's interesting because I sort of reflected on that for a bit. And over time, I came to realise that, integration isn't so much about feeling good. It's about exactly what Brian's communicating in these words this morning. It's about being with whatever's happening in our experience and working through that. I heard a really good quote about resilience recently, and I work in the electricity industry, and the Victorian government has now mandated in law that we need to have a 5-year resilience plan for how we're going to keep providing power to Victorians in bushfires and floods and all that sort of stuff. But the definition I heard recently around resilience is getting better at feeling bad. And it's very simple, but I just really connect with that, with that definition and that thought about dealing with the demons in the wilderness. So Lent is not a time to be better, but it is a time to be braver. As we've seen in our Lenten series, many of us can approach Lent like it's a spiritual self-improvement challenge. Be calmer, be kinder, be more disciplined, be more holy. But what if this season is not asking us to become better, but to become braver? Brave enough to admit what still has power over you, name what you still run from, acknowledge what still scares you, tell the truth about what still hurts, be honest about what still comforts you even while it harms you, and that is particularly hard. You don't heal what you hide, you heal what you face with enough safety to stay present. For many people, demons show up as addiction. Substances, sex, work, achievement, approval, food, doom scrolling, control, chaos. The old religious retort was that we can't overcome these because we lack willpower, faith or discipline, and so we need that, in a sense, intervention from outside or from another body, from a divine being or whatever, to outside ourselves. But recovery community is no better. Here, addiction is not primarily a moral problem, but a relationship one, a regulation one, a nervous system and pain one. The substance is not the issue, rather the substance is the solution to an unbearable internal state. So when we say let your demons come, what we're really saying is let yourself feel what you've been anaesthetising. And as I read that dot point of Brian's, it just really rung true to me around who Brian is and what he's brought to us over the last 2 and a bit years. He's every time I meet Brian, he encourages me to just take a moment and think about what I'm feeling. And sometimes when I ask him a question, he'll say, "Oh, let me just sit with that for a moment and see how that feels." I just really appreciated that and learnt a lot, and have learnt a lot from him around being in my body. When we say let your demons come, what we're really saying is let yourself remember what you've been out running. Let yourself grieve what you never had space to mourn. And what we're really saying is you cannot surrender what you have never met. I'll now hand over to Michael. Thank you, Brian.
All right. I bless the night that nourished my heart to set the ghosts of longing free into the flow and figure of dream that went to harvest from the dark. Bread for the hunger no one sees. All that is eternal in me welcomes the wonder of this day, the field of brightness it creates, offering time for each thing to illuminate and arise. I place on the altar of dawn the quiet loyalty of breath, the tent of thought where I shelter waves of desire I am sure to, and all beauty drawn to the eye. May my mind come alive today to the invisible geography that invites me to new frontiers, to break the dead shell of yesterdays, to risk being disturbed and change. May I have the courage today to live the life that I would love, to postpone my dream no longer, but do at last what I came here for and waste my heart on fear no more.
Amen. For those of you who know John O'Donoghue, you'll recognise that as his work. What a wonderful blessing and poem. Eh? So with those thoughts behind us, what we're going to do now is we're now going to do something we normally do at the start of the service, and we're going to make our affirming statement. And we've moved it here today because we're going to do two things. It sort of reminds us that in this moment of communion where we're going to share, we are welcoming and making people welcome in the space. But we've also changed the statement just slightly towards the end. See if you can notice the difference. So let's together make our affirming statement as we get ready to share communion. Hartwell is a fully affirming community and fully committed to being a safe place for all, regardless of gender, sexuality, race, family, economic situation, regardless of how old you are, where you come from, what abilities you have, what languages you speak, regardless of religion, spiritual path, tradition and ethical conviction. Everyone is welcome here, and we want everyone to feel safe here. Everyone and all parts of each of us are welcome here. May this be a community of acceptance and connection with you. Connection with the other, connection with the self, and connection with the environment that sustains us. We want everyone to feel safe here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to share communion, and we're going to share it as a bit of a simple time around the table. So the emblems are on the table. If you're sitting up the top, you might have to get Cole to help you out with them. But just 5 minutes as you share the emblems, reflect on perhaps what's been said. You'll note that on a number of tables, the text of Brian's sermon is actually there. So that if you want to take it home, you can. If you want to reference it, you can. Don't read the last page because that's still coming yet. If you want to take it home, reference it, but just have a chat together as you share the bread and wine, share each other's company, about the thoughts that Brian's brought today, or maybe John O'Donoghue. How's it engaged you? Just take a minute. Oh.
Scary time.
It's a very between
I'm not saying
Yeah, maybe it depends on.
Generally because
Yeah, like being certain that the person is That's one of the things I love about it is that for me it encourages uncertainty. It's like if I get really good at work, people from other cultures,
thanks. Sorry, the deadline is today. Yes, thanks. I had what's your time? Like 5 p.m. 59. You'll be doing it next
it's saying don't know to look
Can I draw you back together? And can I draw you back together, and can I encourage you to continue the conversation outside of here? As I said, there's the words of the sermon on the table if you want to take them home, and if there's not enough, let me know and I'll send them to you. But this is how Brian finished this sermon. Shadow, not enemy. Carl Jung once said that shadow, which is perhaps Jung's term for our demons, shadow is everything we have disowned about ourselves. It's not that which is outside us, but that which is unknown, unintegrated within. It's not just the dark stuff, but also our power, our anger, our sexuality, our hunger, our ambition, our grief, along with our capacity for both devotion and destruction. The shadow becomes dangerous not because it's dark. And this is the crucial part. It becomes dangerous not because it's dark, but because it's unconscious. It's unknown. We don't see it. We don't acknowledge that it's there within us, even though it's part of us. Unintegrated goodness becomes inflation. What did Brian mean by that? If we have unintegrated goodness, it's goodness that's not aligned with our humility, and our awareness. Unintegrated goodness turns into self-righteous religion, moral arrogance, and judging others to maintain our own sense of purity. Unintegrated darkness becomes destruction. Lent is not about erasing our shadow. It's about turning towards it with enough humility to learn from it. And this is not easy. Your shadow is not asking to rule you. Rather, it's simply asking to be heard. Let your demons come does not mean letting them rule over you or run the show. Letting my demons come does not mean acting them out without responsibility. It does not mean using my wounds to justify harm. It does not mean refusing accountability. It does not mean making my pain other people's burdens. Integration is not indulgence. Facing our demons is a difficult path. We're now going to spend a moment in prayer. And prayer means different things to different people. But this morning, we're just going to be quiet. And I think in a funny sort of way, this sermon talks to us about the very journey that Brian's on. Oh, sorry. He is letting his demons come. And it is hard. And I am sad for him. This morning in prayer, let us just hold him in our minds. Just quietly, light a candle. But alongside him, I'd also ask you to hold Dave Brooker in your minds too, as Dave faces in to the next moment of, or the next phase of his cancer journey. And two, just this week, hold Rob in your minds, as she's also had some bad news around her own health that will require challenges and courages. So let's just stop, be quiet. If you'd like to say something, feel free to say something if you want to be quiet. But just for a few minutes, be quiet, be centred, and let's hold Brian, David, for those of you who know him, Rob, as she's part of us here together, in our minds, as there are real demons to face. Let's just do that for a moment. On this day, may Brian, may Dave, may Robin feel upheld and surrounded and connected with our loving kindness. Feel valued and supported by that. Amen. So we're now going to bring this morning to a close with the longest segment of the service. That's the announcements. You want to see how many dot points I've got down here? You want to see how many dot points I've got down here? So we do have a few things to talk to you about this morning. We had our leadership team meeting just the other night, and there's some good news to talk to you about. So the first thing that I'm going to advise is that we're calling a general meeting of the church on Sunday the 12th of April after the service. And that general meeting is to consider a deed of arrangement that we have arrived at with Properties Corporation and Churches of Christ Vic Tas regarding the sale of the properties at Highfield Road. So it's been a long and somewhat winding road to get to this point, but we have arrived at it. And so we will be advising all members of this, and we'll be asking you to come to that general meeting on that day to vote for an arrangement that will enable us to proceed the next step. If anyone has any questions about that, please feel free to ask myself or John or David Goodwin, who's just disappeared with his granddaughter, I guess, out there. I can't see him. So we'd be happy to talk to you about it and what it is. So there's nothing that's troubling people, but that is an exciting next step for us. There's a couple of things that will cause us to do. One of them is that we will have a Thanksgiving service at the Hartwell Chapel before anything transpires. I think the spirituality group is going to lead the organisation of that, and John's putting his hand up.
No, because we've got a date for it now. Meryl,
Last Sunday in June, 28th, 29th.
And that will be on the 28th of June. There you go. So that will be an important day for us in that regard, and hopefully we can all be there for that. There are a couple of other things that came out of the meeting. As we know, next Sunday is a final service in Brian's ministry, so he formally finishes ministry at the end of March with us. And we've made it clear to him that he's welcome to be here for that, but equally if he feels that it's not in his best interest to do that, then not to do it. So we will see that, and we've said he can make that decision very late in the piece, so he doesn't have to tell us. Having said that, we'll all be here. We'll still go through a service to celebrate what he's added to our lives in the last 2.5 years, and we'll still have lunch. Is that right?
As long as people tell me they're coming.
Okay, so you don't have to buy a ticket.
I mightn't feed you.
You don't have to buy a ticket, but you do have to indicate attendance if you want food. Okay, so we'll still do that next Sunday. So please, we'd love everyone to be here. And look, if Brian is here, he may stay for a short time or a longer time or whatever. But we'd love everyone to be here. In a minute, I'm going to get Janine to have a talk to us about where we're up to in terms of looking for a new minister. So she'll be updating that. But we have also made some decisions about some things we'll do in this interim period. We are going to now look for an administrator to work part-time for us. Just someone who can be a bit of sort of central point of organising things and making sure everything's being held together and do that. So we'll start that process of trying to find that person straight away. We've also asked Paul, one of this morning's demons, we've also asked Paul to lead a group to do a review of our mission strategy. You'll remember that before Brian started, we had a process we went through to come up with a mission strategy, and that document had a 3-year lifespan on it. And we're now getting towards the end of that 3 years lifespan, believe it or not. So we've asked Paul to start a process to not necessarily chuck that out and start again, but to refresh that and to rethink that, so that as we come into our next period of ministry, and we've got that there as a document that helps us understand who we are and where we're going. So that process is going to start as well. And we've asked the placemaking group to keep doing a bit of work tizzying up the joint. Now, I don't exactly know what that means. But if you look around, if you rock up one Sunday, and one Sunday you think that's a bit of tizziness I hadn't been expecting, you'll know it was asked for. Okay. So the placemaking group is going to be thinking about, in particular, the front foyer, this area, the middle foyer, and the kitchen. Is that right? No. The placemaking group's going to be doing something.
You got a good start then.
Yeah, I did, didn't I?
You told me I could have a few minutes.
Oh, I thought it was for hospitality.
Oh, is it?
So that's right at the end. So that's that. But there'll be a statement shortly about the placemaking group in a second. And then the final thing that I've got to say before I ask Janine and Shreen to come up was that I'd also like to advise that the board, so the first meeting of the leadership team after the general meeting, one of the responsibilities of the team is it's got to appoint its office bearers, and it's got to set its portfolio areas, right? So at the last meeting, that both of those things happen, and so just so the church knows, John has been reappointed as the convener of the board, the convener of the leadership team. The good old days we would have called him chair. So for those of you who feel sorry for John for having to bear that burden again, you can give him a cuddle after the service, but the rest of us will clap, okay? So John's been a fantastic convener of the leadership team, and we're really lucky that he's taken that role again. I will remain as secretary of the board for another period.
We're really happy about that.
And after church this morning, John Coa is going to be asked if he'll retain the role as treasurer, which he's now got a couple of minutes to think about. So, you can pray for John over the next 2 minutes or so. So that's the most of my announcements, but what I'll do is I'll ask Janine to come up, and she's going to have a talk to us about the Ministry Search Committee, and then I'm just going to ask Janine to have a bit of a talk about hospitality. And then, having done those two things, I will get Mike to come up, or Dave, or whoever's going to lead us in our benediction.
So update for the Ministry Leader search team. We prepared a report for the leadership team meeting last week, and so following a series of fruitful conversations, progress is continuing in the form of a shortlisted candidate to meet with the leadership team sometime before Easter. So that's happening, and that's not a conclusion, but it's an integral part of a deliberate and thoughtful and collaborative process. So that's the extent of the update, but please be continuing to keep that whole process and the search for ministry leader in your thoughts and prayers. Thank you.
When someone tells me 30 seconds, do you know what my immediate response is? Just a really quick one. With placemaking, there is a few of us. What we're wanting to achieve is, because we're about to embark on a new part with the church settling, whatever, we're going to try and do what we can with what we've got. So in no means is it a big picture plan. We're going to try and combine the two communities into this space in a way without spending any money that looks good. Once it's all settled and the leadership team and then whatever plans further, we will then redevelop, okay? So be assured that in what we're trying to do, if you don't like it, it may be temporary. If you don't like it, tell me. I may not change it. No. So just be assured that we're not doing any long-term plans. What we're trying to do is make the place look good.
A bit dizzy enough, is that what you say?
Hospitality, we've sort of...
Trine, does another word come to mind?
No. Class. Hospitality, we've had we haven't had a get together, but we're having lunch next week. We're sort of planning on trying to do stuff as we believe it's right. We don't know what it means with ministry. We don't know as goes. So we're playing things by ear a little bit. If we have a new minister appointed, we'll look at what that means as to what we do with the service at Highfield Road. Maybe we do something. So if you guys feel like hospitality should be doing more, let us know, because at the moment we're just doing one thing at a time.
Told about the fruit and veg.
Yeah.
Last week.
Oh, the fruit and veg, that's why you wanted me to come up. Barb and I lifted 238 kilos of fruit and vegetable that were going to be thrown out down the road. Took it back in 2 cars because I won't drive my diesel car anymore. I'll drive my electric. Drove it back to Highfield Road where we sorted it. Rosemary came up and that feeds, we got 78 kilos of potatoes. So we can know on a Tuesday night for the next couple of weeks, 150 people out at St Albans will be either fed lovely mashed potato or roast potatoes with all their fruit and veggies. We package up a lot. So if any of you feel like you want to do something on a Monday around lunchtime and start sorting some food with us, Jane Pallett does the most amazing job with her team, with us helping get a little bit of food out there.
Just to add on to the hospitality, so the High Tea for Zambia is coming up on April the 19th, I think it is. Yeah. First of all, book in. That'd be wonderful to have you there. It's always a great day. It's a high tea at St Scholastica's, 2:30, something like that, on a Sunday after church. What they really need, Jane needs, first of all, people who can help on the day, because some of her regular helpers have weddings in other places and are not able to be there. But also anyone who can do produce. Produce is the thing that really gets the money rolling in. So there will be quite a good produce store. So all you lovely produce makers, that would be fabulous if you can help. Thank you.
The other thing is, last year, a group of people, we supplied all the slices for the thing. Half of our girls are going to be overseas. So there's a few of us left, and I have let Jane know what our limits are. But if any of you feel like you would like to make some slices, and I can then pass it on to Jane and let her know exactly how much. Usually you just have to have it there by the morning or Saturday here and they get it. So.
And if any of the boys would like to do that, they shouldn't feel like this is a gender-specific opportunity.
Paul's Portuguese tarts, I think.
Absolutely. Dave, you're going to come up and let's join together and see if the Irish blessing to bring our service to a close.
What are we going to do now, Ala?
You going to do music? No? She was demanding music a minute ago. May the road rise to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. The rain falls soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of their hand. May God hold you in the palm of their hand.
It's fascinating watching
She wants to